Hi, this is Kara O'Connell at ContextEDU. In this session is Zoom Basics, Profile and Settings. To access your profile page, go to zoom.us and click on My Account. If you've signed up for a Zoom account, your profile will show up right in the middle screen here. And there are two important things that I want to bring your attention to on the profile screen. The first is your user type. I'm a licensed user. Some folks are using free versions of Zoom and some are using enterprise versions which have more features to them. It's important for you to know whether or not you're using a licensed or free account because that impacts some of these settings that are available. If you have a licensed account, it means that I can host meetings with unlimited minutes, but my setting is only at 100 participants. So there are accounts that cost more that allow you from 500 to 1,000 participants. And in the free version, you can have up to 100 participants, but the meetings are limited to 40 minutes. So it is important before you jump in and start exploring all of these Zoom settings to know what level of license you hold in your Zoom account. I want to draw your attention over to settings. These settings that you set here in your profile are really important and directly impact what this experience is like for those who participate in your meetings. So there are a few of these settings that I want to go through with you. There are many more. Please take the time to go through and read all of the settings and make informed decisions. I want to point out the few that will be important as we go deeper into Zoom features. The first setting is the waiting room. If you have the waiting room enabled, it means that when participants join a meeting, they're going to be placed in a room outside of your meeting, and you're going to be able to invite them in either individually or as a group. If you have this set, every one of your meetings will begin with folks in the waiting room with you bringing them in. If it's not set, if it's toggled off, then folks will just come right into the meeting. You have the ability to require a passcode when you schedule new meetings. That means that participants, in order to join, will need to key in that password. And there are a few settings around passwords that are worth reading through. The next setting I want to draw your attention to is the host video and participants video. If you have these set to on, it means that as soon as you join the meeting as the host, your video will be on. And as soon as your participants join, their video will be on. I actually prefer these to be toggled off. I start my meetings generally with an agenda or cover slide, and it may have a to-do while you're waiting topic. And for participants, I really like them to be able to choose whether or not they're turning their video on. So I leave those toggled off, but please select whatever meets your instructional objectives. There's an option here to mute participants upon entry. I leave that set to on. So if I have large meetings with a number of people who may or may not know whether or not they're muted, I find that leaving this on reduces distractions. This muting feature is interesting because you can also set it so that folks don't have the option of turning on their audio, that it can stay off and that you're the only one that can control that. For really large groups, I like to keep that off and then unmute people who I need to participate in the discussion manually. But that, again, depends on the size of your group and the intention of your meeting. Be sure to have chat toggled on. You'll still, in your meetings, have the option to adjust chat permissions, but if you don't have this in the on position, the chat won't be available and you won't be able to make those choices in the moment. I usually leave chat on, private chat on, and auto saving of chats. This makes it so if there's a question that comes up when I'm delivering professional development that I don't see or I don't know the answer to in the moment, that I can look back at that chat and answer that question later. When you're working with students, this can be a little bit complicated if you send out a quiz for students to take and they have private chat available. They might share answers with each other. So the private chat is really up to you whether you want to allow that or not, or whether you want to allow that sometimes and really work with students around what's appropriate and what's not. And then finally, I want to be sure that we all have polls enabled. Polls are not available in free accounts. They're only available in licensed accounts. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but have it enabled. And then finally, have your annotation and whiteboard enabled. These are features that will allow you to share whiteboards and annotate right in your meetings, which is a sort of a great interactive tool for you to be able to use during a Zoom meeting. That's it for this session, Profile and Settings.